Hello everybody, and if you're that way inclined, a Merry Christmas to you too. I don't really do a sort of traditional Christmas message on the channel because I'm not the Queen, but I do like to try and put some content out on Christmas Day for all of you who are either on your own through either choice, circumstance or something else, and for those of course who don't celebrate Christmas or are just simply bored and trying to hide from the people that they are supposed to be with. I don't want to do anything big or grand, instead something a little bit fun. And this is really inspired by all of you because one of the things that amazes me constantly, I've been very lucky indeed with how my life has gone over the last few years, and yet whenever I tend to meet people either out and about, if they want to talk to me about cars or they've brought me one for a review or whatever, people are always thanking me. The number of times that I've done a review and at the end the owners come to me and say, "Thank you so much," and it's like, no, thank you. I'm always amazed by this, but no, seriously, thank you. Whether you've brought me a car, even if this is the first video of mine you're ever watching for whatever reason, it's probably not going to be, but even if it is, thank you so very much, because just by interacting with the video, watching it, commenting, sharing it with your friends, you have been a really important part of my life over the last half a decade. So I hope you've enjoyed all the content that I've made this year, and next year I'm going to try and do my very best to keep it the same and then make it just a little bit better. I'm in the process now of editing the long version of my interview with Steve Nichols, which has turned out to be really quite popular amongst all of you, and I know a lot of you are really keen to see the longer version. If you haven't already seen the short one, please do watch that because the video is doing really well, and if you do give it a watch, it really genuinely does make a difference to me. And the one tomorrow is looking like it's going to be about 2.5 hours, so plenty of extra material in that. I've actually been reworking it and editing it to make it a little bit easier to understand for people that don't want to watch the short version too. So today I thought I would, in a sort of slightly fun way, answer one of the questions I get asked on the most frequent basis. And that is, if Top Gear asked me to go on, would I? This is not just a question that I'm often asked directly, but also a comment that people tend to make. If they like a video, they'll generally say, "Oh, this is really good, you should be on Top Gear." This is something not aimed at just me, but all of my other fellow YouTubers as well, who we should take a moment to remember on this lovely festive occasion. So my friends like Ratarossa, who I'm talking to at present, Jack from number 27 that I've just got the Citroen BX off, and in the new year I'll be making some content on that. My friend Laurie from Laurie's Mechanical Marvels, and all of the other guys out there, Tim, Shmee150, lovely guy, and a whole host of other names that also definitely deserve a mention, but I've forgotten or we just don't have time for because we'd be here all day long. So today it's sort of two questions or two halves of the same question. If Top Gear rang me, if this phone, this broken, cracked, dying Samsung Galaxy S10 rang, and somebody said, "Hey, I'm Mr. BBC, we would like you to come on the Top Gear. One of the presenters has been involved in a horrific cricket ball related accident and you need to come and step in." Would I do it? The genuine answer is I'm not sure, but I'd probably be leaning towards no. The reason for that is simple. Yes, it would be an enormous boost to my career, to my public profile and everything else. All the people that have gone on Top Gear, generally you remember them, or at least some people do. However, not all of them had a very good time. In fact, even Chris Harris has gone on record to say how awful it was in so many ways taking the job, because as much as he might have loved it, the reaction and backlash from fans is absolutely horrendous. And if Chris Harris gets that treatment, me, being a podgy bugger, what can't drive as well as he can, not sure I'm quite ready for that scale of feedback. The other problem is that when you do work for a big company like the BBC, your opportunities to do your own work are often very much limited. So you've seen this in the news recently. Nick Knowles got into trouble over stuff, and of course people like Rory Reid weren't able to continue doing their own things if it conflicted with their contract for the Beeb. And at the minute, I'm really enjoying how YouTube is going. It's actually doing quite well, and I'm making a couple of quid out of it, which means that I can live, I can survive. I would have to be offered, I think, something very lucrative, not necessarily in financial terms, but that gave me some sort of creative freedom or a bit of security as well from the BBC. If I was going to just put all of this, everything I've worked for, on hold for a bit, I would need to give that some serious thought. It would have to be something that I thought was going to be the best thing, not just for me, but also for my audience as well, because I would not want you to feel like you'd been abandoned. I'd seen, the bright glitzy lights and I just danced off to those because I thought it was El Dorado. Not at all. However, there is, of course, a huge part of me that would want to say yes, in the same way that this... Florence has arrived now. You know, how do you know when I'm doing these things? All day long I'll be in here and she's just not even remotely interested. And you know, a few years ago, this cat, this one, say hello, ow, that's not how I'm supposed to pick you up. That was going so well and then you just hooked yourself in. Anyway, I know everybody loves Florence, so this bit is getting left in. Come on, stand up here. Come on. But yeah, I would love to say yes to Top Gear in the same way that even though I now have lots and lots of people watch my work, I would still desperately love to do something in a magazine, if only once. I would love to write an article in a car magazine, in Evo or Octane or Motorsport or something. Probably not Motorsport, I wouldn't really know enough about that. But I would love to do something like that because I don't know, it's prestige. I wouldn't even want money for it. I would like to write an article, put it on the wall. I'd be really, really proud of that. And by the same token, going on Top Gear, surely for somebody like myself, that's the equivalent of getting on the F1 grid, isn't it really? You're like, that's peak car presenting. And this is where things got interesting, and I would love your comments and feedback on this one as well. I started thinking, what if all of the Top Gear cast had been injured in mysterious cricket ball related injuries? And they said to me, not only are you going to come on Top Gear, you're going to be the new Clarkson, you're going to be the lead host, and you get to pick anyone you want to join you. So I started thinking, within the framework of the fairly familiar existing format, who would I have? So here are my ideas, and I would love you to tell me who you'd like to see on Top Gear. And I'll give you a few different frameworks as well for your response. So first off, I thought, what if we were going to rebrand Top Gear and do an online version? So using YouTube as people that mostly are known, I think, through their online stuff. So what I'd like to have is myself, obviously, because I have to be in there. At number 27, my friend Jack. And also, I'd like to have, because I think you need somebody that can really drive. And Jack and I have a driving license, but we're not proper drivers. So I'd like to co-present with Abby Eaton, because between the three of us, you've got three different people with three different ages, three different skill sets, three very different careers, and I think that would make a really, really good trio. You know, Jack could do the slightly older stuff, I could do the kind of stuff in the middle, and then for any track work, just get Abby to do it. This would also involve, instead of the awful celebrity interviews that I have never really ever bothered watching because I think they're the worst part of the programme, we'd replace that with a racing segment hosted by Seen Through Glass, because I think he'd love nothing more than 5 to 10 minutes each week to talk a little bit about motorsport. That, I think, would work really, really well, and we could send him somewhere each week so we could be nice and comfortable in the studio and he could be off in Dubai or somewhere talking to all the glitterati on the F1 grid. That, I think, would be quite cool. So, next up, a little less realistic. What if I had a time machine as well, and I could pick several people from throughout history? Well, obviously, you've got up front myself in my current form, maybe a bit older. And I'd then like to have Graham Hill, because he's a real sort of old-fashioned, proper 1960s gentleman racer type, and I think would be a really, really interesting fellow to have, and clearly knows his cars and can rather drive. I would then have Brian Johnson from AC/DC, who I could, to be honest, grab without a time machine, but we could get a slightly younger Brian as well, and he's also well into his cars and a very different kind of car to what I am too. As the Stig, I'd get Nicky Lauda, because I think he'd make quite a good Stig, but we'd let him talk as well, and let's face it, Nicky, not known for mincing his words when it comes to the performance of a car. Then, my TV hero trio, so taking people that I've kind of grown up watching and who would I really want to see, and this is not including myself. So if I had the power to just recast Top Gear, I would put Clarkson in there, but I'd take Clarkson from maybe about 20 years ago, so just before the revival of Top Gear in the early 2000s. I'd then also give him Johnny Smith from Smith & Sniff and Fifth Gear, and his now own channel, The Late Break Show, which is absolutely fantastic. Lovely guy, really entertaining, and I think as a presenter, criminally underrated. He makes some excellent content, and his views and subs are well deserved. I then put Tiffany Adele. So yes, I know I've kind of got Fifth Gear with Clarkson in, but what I'd also do in this sort of happy marriage of Fifth and Top Gear, I'd replace the celebrity segment and this one with insider trading with James May. You may remember this segment from very, very early revived Top Gear. He and Hammond would talk about various deals and things that were out there in the car world before the internet really was, existed, didn't it? And we did have it then, but not in the same way that it does now. So he talked about all the ways people could get a little bit more for their money. And that's a segment that I think is overdue a return because it's practical, helpful consumer advice. And I think Top Gear needs to feature a lot more of that. Finally, I've got my American friendly setup, and this actually is one of my favourite configurations as well. So it's got me in there, and I'm American friendly because I love eating. We've got Jason Camissa, who's currently doing a great series with Haggerty called Revelations. He's got a couple of others as well, but the Revelations series is absolutely fantastic. The Maserati episode is good. There's an Alpha episode. There's a Corrado VR6. He just did an RX-7 FD one. Really, really good content. Fun. To the point, it does the BBC thing. Educate, inform, entertain. That's all I've ever wanted to do with my videos, and what he's doing is exactly that. I would then get, and this is a bit of an outside one, but I think would actually work really well. I'd get Gordon Ramsay. Again, he's British, therefore perfect for an American audience. They already absolutely love him. He's a celebrity who's well known. He's a car owner and collector himself, so he can talk more about that end of the market. And another man well known for making his opinion known and not mincing his words. Finally, as the Stig, who could I have other than Randy Popst? And if you don't know who he is, you seriously need to catch up on your motor trend because he is, again, a fantastic driver and also great at giving commentary and feedback because actually, I do want to hear from the Stig. I wouldn't even call him the Stig because I know where the name came from and I've got really no particular, affinity for it. But I think that would be quite a fun trio to watch. So, there we have it. Hope you're having a lovely time, whoever you are, wherever you are, and whatever it is that you're doing. Let me know then in the comments down below who would be your Top Gear dream trio. And you're welcome to replace the celebrity interview segment if you want with something else, a special guest to have on each week or something like that. So there we have it. Thanks so very much to you for being a part of an incredible year for me and, well, one that I hope is going to be going on for quite some time. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, have a lovely Thursday, delete as applicable. See you soon. Bye-bye.